So my biggest mistake, I think, was not seeking out a prenatal psychiatrist. My psychiatrist is brilliant, but he's not an expert in prenatal psychiatry, medication-wise. I was being weaned off these drugs, but I didn't need to be. It's basically a risk-benefit ratio. If the risk is greater for the mother to be off the meds than it is to be on them, once I got down to 50 milligrams of Seroquel, my mania would sprout up.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Got another great episode. This one is with the lovely Crystal Lancaster, and she lives with bipolar personality disorder. So she's going to tell us all about that and really deep dive a bit into her pregnancy issues, as you can tell from that intro. And hey, since you're listening to this episode, you should go check out Transgression. That is my 8-part documentary series on being trans in Saskatchewan. That's out now, but you can check that out after listening to this episode. So without further ado, I give you Crystal Lancaster.
So it's a long story. My dad died when I was about 15. And I think I kind of had a delayed reaction to the grief that I came to experience about a year and a half later. When September 11th happened, that triggered me for some reason. And it was kind of like, or this is what the doctors say at least, it was kind of like the deaths of all those people kind of reenacted the death of my own father. And so it triggered the trauma, the childhood trauma of him leaving me. And so I got really depressed. My mom had to pull me out of school. I started hearing voices wherever I went. I thought people were talking about me, just calling me a freak, weirdo, whatnot. Even at church it happened. And so my mom had to pull me out of school. It was my senior year. And then after about 3 months, I had seen a doctor and they prescribed me like Depakote or something. So I went back to school and I was totally a different person than I was before when I had left, because I'm an introvert. So I'm very shy. I don't talk a lot. But when I went back to school, to high school, I was very bold and brazen. I was pretty much all over the place. I asked my senior English teacher out to prom. I tried to meet up with, I tried to meet up with guys on the internet. I even had a friend drive me to San Diego at one point to try to meet up with a boy. Someone answered the door. I'm pretty sure it was him, but he was probably freaked out and he said he was someone else. So that happened. And then things just kind of got worse from there. I didn't care about my grades anymore. I was a 4.5 GPA student. And then I started getting D's and F's. Somehow I graduated. I think they probably just felt sorry for me because I was such a good student up to that point. And my dad did just pass a year ago. So they let me graduate. And then that summer, I just experienced full-blown mania, basically. So I was feeling like I was on top of the world. I was feeling invincible, nothing can stop me. I would talk and I would be speaking a million words a minute. And I had so much energy that I didn't know what to do with. And finally, it caught up to me and my mom freaked out, didn't know what to do. So she actually called 5150. I don't know if you know what that is because it's different in every state, I think. So 5150 is involuntary, not incarceration, involuntary commitment to a psychiatric ward. So I was 17 at that time. And it was, I think, in October. So basically 3 months before I was supposed to start college, I ended up in a psych ward instead. And that's where they diagnosed me with bipolar 1 disorder. But they did say that I was exhibiting so many different symptoms that they basically just diagnosed me so they could release me. because I was experiencing like bipolar schizoaffective and borderline schizophrenia and like all these different things. But to just get me out of there, they're like, you have bipolar 1. And that's been my diagnosis since then.
Well, why did they want you out of there?
I guess that's a good question. Maybe they needed more space. I don't know,
Your
but
insurance was running out?
yeah, I guess they just figured I was there because I was there for a while. I was there for at least a month and a half.
Hmm.
So I think maybe it was getting towards like holiday time and all that. So they decided to just, yeah.
Do you mind me asking how your father passed?
So he died on the operating table. He had cancer for a very long time and he was taking medication to maintain it. Long story short, they started giving him too low a dose of the medication. Tumor started growing. They had to remove the tumor and then they couldn't stop the bleeding. So
Okay, so then you come home. You've got this diagnosis. I'm assuming they've given you medication now, and you lived happily ever after.
I wish.
Oh,
Not yet.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, leading up to the diagnosis, yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
So how is it going home now with this diagnosis and the new meds?
So, well, my mom worked at that time, so my grandparents had to watch me during the day. So I just remember having to take lithium, and I'd always have to take it with like milk. And I was in a daze for a very long time. It took about a year for me to come to the realization that I had a mental illness and to accept that I had it. And
Mm.
so I was taking the meds, but I was just taking them because they were giving them to me. And I just remember being very numb. And very recently, I spoke to my younger cousin who saw how I was during this time in my life. And he said that I was totally like checked out. And he would try talking to me and he would see that I wasn't like all there. And he turned to his mom and he was like, Mom, like, why is she that way? And she was just like, it's just, it's the illness, Ryan, that's why. So,
Shout out
yeah.
Ryan.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. So a year of being checked out and then
Because of the meds, or was it?
I think because of time and maybe the medication, like, because they always say that it takes a while for the medication to take effect. I don't even know. I think I was on like 3 different medications at that time: lithium, Seroquel, and trilaptol. And yeah, they just, I guess, needed time to take effect. But I needed most of all just time to get back to where I was. And I think me going back to school, so starting college, was a big catalyst for me to kind of restart or jumpstart my life again. Because high school for me was honestly the worst 4 years of my life, but college made up for it. I made a lot of friends. I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful for that experience.
Uh, what was so bad about high school for you?
You know what? I didn't have a lot of friends in high school. I just had people that I would eat lunch with. I didn't have any best friends. I had a best friend who went to a different high school, but as for someone that I could confide in and talk to on campus, it was ironic because I was a cheerleader, but I was super quiet and I didn't have a lot of friends. And so a lot of guys thought I was just stuck up because to them, like being a cheerleader and being quiet isn't, interchangeable, I guess you can say. So, but yeah, it wasn't a fun time for me, I guess. So I'm a likable person, but I'm just very quiet. So I chose not to go to parties and I chose not to do things with people who asked me to do things. So
Plus, I mean, you're also going through your father being sick and passing, and Yeah.
Yeah.
You got stuff going on at home too.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so you enjoyed university. What did you take in university?
um,
What do you want to
it,
be when you grow up?
I always wanted to be a writer. I thought I'd graduate and work for the New York Times because I wrote for this one of the university newspapers. I went to UC Irvine, and I was like, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to work for the New York Times. But I majored in English, so English was always something I was just good at, and I had fun doing it. So I always wanted to be a writer, though. Like no matter what, that was like my goal in life. It's still my goal, but
Going through university or college. What was it? College, university? What's the difference?
it's the same. I think it's the same thing, isn't
I think so. I
it?
don't know why there's different names for it, but
Or like uni, and they say in the UK, like
yeah.
go to uni or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So you enjoyed that experience, and I'm assuming you were pretty healthy.
Yeah, I kind of think I was still a little manic. I don't know if I should describe what mania is, but I was still a little manic. So mania is best described, I guess, by different symptoms. Like it could be like unexpected bursts of energy. It could be, gosh, a broad fluctuation of lows and highs. It could be, feeling invincible. It could be having a false sense of euphoria. I mean, mainly people would describe it as like having a bunch of highs and lows, I guess you would say, but it could feel really good at times, but you can also find yourself in trouble if if you're flying too high.
So it's mania is kind of the high. When you say
Mm-hmm.
the highs and lows, is that kind of a, what do they call that? A mixed episode?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah. Well, there's mania, then there's hypomania, and then there's depression.
Depression. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like you had mania, like when you were in high school for a little bit there, when you came back and you were different, and it could be hypersexuality. It could be like spending sprees. It could be
Yes.
substance use that don't normally do. You're partying, you're staying up late, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. It can turn you into someone that you wouldn't normally be, and that's the frightening part, I think. And you definitely feel out of control.
and then there's like usually a pile of consequences then afterwards because it's like, oh God, I cheated on someone, or I did this when I got drunk, or I spent a bunch of money, now I have a bunch of debt. And okay, so you were kind of you were maybe on the edge of that a little bit during university.
Yeah, at the start of it, I think because I was feeling so good and so euphoric that
Maybe you're just having a nice time meeting
maybe,
people and
I don't know. Maybe like I actually had an existential crisis last year. Because I turned 40 in last November, and being off. Um, I think we were going to get into this a little later, but being off medication because I'm trying to get pregnant, me and my husband. So my doctor, for the past like 2.5 years, he was weaning me off of my meds, and he got too low. The dose basically just got too low, and I basically crashed, I guess you can say. And I had my fourth major breakdown since I was 16. And it was a surprise to me. I don't know why, but like I think except for the very first breakdown, like all of my breakdowns came as a surprise. Like you would think that after experiencing it the first time or the second time that you would see it coming, but I didn't. I just thought like I'm coming into my own, like this is me, without this is me off drugs basically. Like the drugs are the ones like inhibiting me and hampering who I am. And, I had an existential crisis. I'm like, who am I without these drugs that I've been on for the past 23 years? And I guess I kind of got my answer. And I don't know, I just fell flat on my face, and it wasn't a good time, I guess you can say.
hmm. So yeah, you didn't become manic, you became depressed.
Yes.
some people have a highs and lows, and like, I mean, that's natural, but like, so I've been told people with bipolar, it can last for months and months. It's not like a week or a weekend or something. It's like these highs can last for a long, long time. And so can the lows. Anyway, I just wanted to add that before we moved on. But
Yeah.
your second big,
Yeah. Relapse, breakdown.
sure, okay.
Yeah.
When did that one happen?
So the first one was when I was 16 and September 11th happened. The second one I want to say was between, I think that's the one that landed me in the psychiatric ward, was
Oh, I see.
my second one.
Gotcha. Okay. So the
Yeah.
third one then, I guess.
My third one was I was 27. I was with my husband who at that time we were together for 4 years, and
Your current husband?
my
So
current
you're
husband.
dating? Okay.
Yeah, so we were dating for 4 years at that time, and he'd never been around anything like that. And that's when I had the mixed episodes. So that's when I was hallucinating, like auditory hallucinations, paranoid delusions. Like I thought everyone was talking about me. I thought people on the radio and on the television knew who I was and were like spreading false like information about me. And I would go places and I would hear my name being shouted like from far away.
Usually when there's that kind of stuff, is that when they say it's schizoaffective
Right.
bipolar?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know, because I know that's like a shared symptom of schizophrenia and bipolar one is the delusions and the hallucinations.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not entirely sure what the definition of schizoaffective bipolar is. But you might be entirely right. So,
I might not.
But yeah, so that was the high part of it, the mania part of it. And then the depression part of it was that for 7 months, I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't get out of bed. I slept all day, all night. I lost 10 pounds. I couldn't even wear size 0 jeans. And yeah, it was bad. And I wouldn't take phone calls. And the funny thing was, so obviously we weren't living with each other at the time, but my husband was the only one I trusted. And he was the newest person in my life. So for me to trust him, but not even trust my best friends or my family was like, wow, like, so I always thought that was interesting, but like he was the one that I trusted and felt safe with and that I could actually do things with. And everyone else I just thought was conspiring like against me. So that lasted about seven months, I would say, that episode.
You didn't end up in the psych ward or anything there, or changing meds or anything?
They wanted to commit me again, but my mom said nope. She said she's not going back there. So
wait, you were 27?
I was living at home still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That damn recession, you know.
I was like, when I was 27, my mom didn't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I was at home and she was saying no, she's not going back there.
Why'd she say that?
Because I guess she didn't feel comfortable me being locked up. She didn't, because she couldn't be certain what was actually happening there. Before I was in the institution that I was in for a month and a half, I was in an institution that I was at for 2 weeks. But she moved me because I guess it was really unsanitary and like the staff was really awful. So she had me transferred. So, so this, breakdown or whatever, they wanted me to go to group and they couldn't really get me to do that either because I hate group therapy. Like I wouldn't go.
You're an introvert.
Yeah, exactly. Plus it's like, you don't want to sit around in a group of people like talking about their own trauma and potentially like triggering yours. Like it's just not fun for me. So
You're like, boring.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
No, that's completely fair. So sometimes the hospital isn't the best place for you, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Was there anything that changed in those 7 months?
I think I think it ran its course, and they also did a readjustment of my meds. I'm not entirely sure what was readjusted. It's kind of a blur, but yeah, it kind of ran its course. And I got back to my life again. And then I got back to my job, and they basically laid me off. But I didn't like that job anyway. So
And your boyfriend stuck around, stuck through it.
he stuck around. We've been together for 17 years now. So
Nice.
yeah.
A new season of Love Me is here. Real stories of real, complicated relationships.
It's not even like a gender. I mean, it's wrapped up in gender, but it's just a really deep self-hate.
I think I cried almost every day. I just threw myself on the floor.
He's coming on really straight. It's like he's trying to date you all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I do look like my mother.
Love Me. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello everyone, my name is Luke Clement Kozak, Chair of the SEIU West Gender and Sexual Diversity Committee. Today, we unite to oppose Bill 137 in Saskatchewan, which threatens the rights of gender and sexual minorities. This bill is a step backwards for inclusivity and equality, fostering fear and discrimination. We must stand together, raise our voices, and advocate for a future where everyone can live authentically and without fear. Let's fight for justice and ensure that every individual is respected.
You went 13 years fairly healthy until
Last May.
do the bipolar meds, can they affect fetuses or something? Like what?
Yeah. So one of them, Klonopin, or some people know it as clonazepam, it's not as severe, but it can give birth defects or like cleft lips or like things like that. And then the other meds could give the child like heart defects. So I started weaning myself off these. Well, no, my doctor weaned me off these meds. Us both going into it thinking, okay, so this is what we're going to have to do because it's going to harm the baby. So my biggest mistake, I think, was not seeking out a maternal psychiatrist or a prenatal psychiatrist, because my psychiatrist is brilliant. Like, I've known him since I was 16, but he's not an expert in prenatal psychiatry, like meaning like medication wise, like what's best for the baby. So
He just winged it?
I think he went off of like current research, and the research wasn't there yet. Because when we started talking about me getting pregnant, this was like back in like 2015 or something like that. So that's like 10 years, you know? And so by the time I started actually getting off these drugs, like, I don't know, like 8 years had passed. And so the research was there now. And I had come to find that I was being weaned off these drugs, but I didn't need to be. So yes, they could give you birth defects, but you have to do the pros and the cons, and you have to do. So the other doctor was telling me it's basically a risk benefit ratio. If the risk is greater for the mother to be off the meds than it is to be on them, then did that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
Are you asking someone else in the room there? Is your husband there or something?
I think I'm asking myself. So if the if the risk is greater for the mom to be off the meds, then she needs to stay on them, because you need a healthy,
There we go.
Yeah. Because we need a healthy mom, basically. And I met with my OBGYN, and I met with this prenatal psychiatrist, and they like said, yeah, we have a lot of clients who stay on the meds and their babies are fine. So, but we couldn't have known, like my psychiatrist couldn't have known that once I got down to 50 milligrams of Seroquel, my mania would sprout up, and that Because I kind of ignored the signs too. I was so desperate to get pregnant.
You're in denial and stuff. I know, I've been there too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've wanted a baby like all my life, and I was so determined. I was like, okay, I just spent the last 2.5 years getting off these drugs. Like, there's no way in hell I'm going to stop, So I kept going at it, and I ignored that I was kind of hearing voices again. I kind of ignored the fact that I was only getting 3 hours of sleep every night. You know, I was ignoring the signs because that's how much I wanted the baby. And, that's what happened. I faced the consequences for that. So
earlier you're talking about going off meds and like you wanted to be your true self. Who am I really? And even I've done that. And like I thought I'm cured, I'm better, I don't need these meds, and worked with my doctor going off of them, and it was a bit of a disaster too. But I had a friend that said, I have high blood pressure. When I'm on my meds, I have low blood pressure. What's the difference? And then I was like, it is different when it's your brain and stuff. It's such a. I wish we could just take blood tests and oh, you need this much meds, and this is exactly what you have, and this is exactly what you need. It's trial and error, and no one really knows what our brains are doing, and stupid brains.
I know, and it's not even trial and error over a period of weeks. It's over like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like it took the doctor 2 years for the first time to get my meds, like the cocktail of medications correct or whatever.
Right.
So
I'm on Seroquel for a sleep aid.
Oh.
I take just a little bit at night. But so then, well, did you end up having a baby or getting pregnant?
Not yet. We're actually planning to in about a year. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I forget that that the breakdown happened in May. Not that it happened in May, but I'm like thinking to myself, it happened in May, like I should be in a different place right now, but I didn't realize, well, you didn't start really getting better till like maybe November of last year. Even though it was May that it happened, you weren't really healing that entire time. You were trying to figure it out again. And I hated it. They were putting me back on the meds, increasing the dosage. And I'm like, no, like that's not what I want. Like, I don't want these meds, but it had to be done. So
I worked 2.5 years for this. And
I know.
Yeah. That's how I felt going back on too. It was like, I fought through all the withdrawal and everything, and now I'm going to back on. And like, nah.
Withdrawal's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Are you still on lithium as well? Yeah.
Yeah. Still on lithium.
So in about a year, you're going to give her a shot again.
Yeah, I'm on the full doses of the meds right now, but the doctor actually said they're too high. So now I have to kind of go back down again. So now I'm having withdrawal because I'm going back down again. Because I was doing those 2.5 years, I was actually stable on 300 milligrams of Seroquel. And I originally was on 600, but I can manage at 300. But I'm back at 600 again. So I need to go back down because I'm finding myself, I'm like kind of emotionally numb at times. And it's a side effect of Seroquel. You can be like really detached, things like that. And I've noticed that like even my husband's like, yeah, like you're not as happy. And my mom's like, yeah, you're not as bubbly. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling myself as much as I used to.
You're just like a robot. What are the withdrawal symptoms of that?
For me, I get the chills, I get migraines, and I get nausea. Yeah.
I hate all those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, even if I take my meds late, like I usually take them in the morning, if I forget and it's in the afternoon, I can even get a little nausea, and it's like, oh, it almost feels like a hangover.
Yeah. You know what? I've never been drunk in my life, so I don't know how a hangover feels. True story.
What's wrong with you?
I don't like alcohol. I don't like alcohol that much, so I'm always afraid. Well,
no, I'm teasing anyway. It's
I guess it's another existential question. It's because like I always tell people like I know what it feels like to be out of control and I never want to feel that way again. So that's why I avoid getting to that point of being drunk.
So it's not really worth it anyway. It's like, oh, I'm out of control. Now I also feel like crap. So, yeah. Well, good for you. I'm one of these guys. I'm far too curious. So I had to do it when I was 13, first time I got drunk. Do you know physically if you are able to have children? Like you
Yeah, so what they say is like my eggs are viable, I guess, and I have enough in my reserve.
in your reserve?
It's called the ovarian reserve.
Oh, okay. I don't know much about women's parts.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. You have viable
yeah.
eggs and you got a good stock.
And I'm just praying, like, please, like, let me be one of those 40-year-old women who are able to have a baby. So
Happens all the time. Don't worry. I've actually interviewed someone who they froze some eggs and they tried doing it intravenously, and then they just ended up getting pregnant on their own anyway. So they had all this trouble and all this money on these
my
eggs,
God.
and then they find out that it was like the doctor was actually kind of half bullshitting them so that they would spend all this money and stuff on his services.
Wow.
So
Wow. And it's like 10 grand to freeze your eggs.
yeah, it wasn't cheap for them. So when you through this whole process, you guys never actually actively tried for kids.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the other day I saw you on Instagram again, and you seemed healthy. She seems to be healthy, and you're kind of doing reels, some of the stigmas. And I thought, well, what are some of the stigmas and some of your reels touching on?
I don't have a reel that touch upon the stigma, but I remember there's definitely a stigma around how someone with a mental illness looks. Maybe not a stigma, but I encountered a person in the break room at a job, my old job, and somehow we got onto the topic of me being bipolar. And he was like, he looked at me, he's like, well, you don't look bipolar. And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, what exactly does a bipolar person look like? Like, am I supposed to have like an aluminum foil like blanket and like a tin hat? Like, I didn't like understand. And I wasn't offended. I was just baffled because I think a lot of people think that they're like, you don't look like you look normal, or so I get that a lot.
You're kind of shy. I thought you'd have to be in our faces all the time or something.
Right.
Actually, the reel I'm thinking of, so you got judged or something when you told someone you had bipolar.
When I went to the doctor or the...
Yes, it was something like
that.
that.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that story?
It was during a time where I was really sick, like physically, like I was in a lot of pain. And for months, doctors couldn't figure out what was the matter with me. Like my back always hurt, and so did my side. And I was driving home from work one day, and the pain started happening again. And I felt like I was going to pass out. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and I was telling my husband how I was feeling, and I was like, can you take an Uber to come get me? Because like I was having trouble breathing or whatnot. And I ended up at the ER. I didn't want to go to the ER. But like I got on the phone with my aunties, and they kind of like, they're like, no, you need to go right now. So I went to the ER, and I got to the back. And at that point, they had found something in my aorta, something that was like lodged in my chest. And so when the doctor came to see me, like I was trying to explain that to him, he had seen my file or whatnot, and he's like, well, he's like, have you had any manic symptoms lately? And I was like, no. And I was thinking to myself, why are you even asking me that? Like, that shouldn't be the first question, like, out of your mouth. Like, I just told you that I've been in pain and they found something in my chest. And like, isn't that like important to know? And he's asking me if I've had any manic symptoms lately. And so I was so angry, and he kind of was like, okay, well, we'll do another CAT scan on you or whatnot, and then see what happens. And then he left. And then I just turned to look at my husband. I'm like, and he looks at me and he goes, he didn't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you see, like what I'm dealing with here, because I've told him stuff like that happens, but he doesn't believe me.
Your husband didn't believe you even?
No. And so he finally was there to witness it. And I was like, screw it. I was like, I don't want to be here. If that's the way they're going to treat me, then screw it. So like I took off like the thing on the finger, and I took off all the other wires or whatever, and I left. I was like, I'm not staying here. And I don't know. I was just flabbergasted. And I actually posted that reel on TikTok. And I got a lot of responses where it happens to a lot of people. And they're like, that's why you shouldn't tell people you have a mental health condition when you go to the ER, because they're not going to treat you. And so I wasn't surprised that it happened to a lot of other people, but it was kind of validating in a sense that I'm like, okay, so I'm not, just overreacting. Like this does happen,
Now I'm dying to know what about the pain. Did you get help for that?
They say it could have been kidney stones, but to be honest, they never really got to the bottom of it. I think what kind of threw it all into motion was whatever was in my aorta or my para-aortic region kind of like freaked doctors out. So they kept doing a bunch of tests, but then they never discovered anything except for kidney stones. So,
well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just better now.
Yeah.
I have a good friend that has bipolar, and he has a very, very similar story. Paramedics came, and or I think they were asking what medications he's on or something like that. And he told them, and then they went from like really trying to figure stuff out to being like, oh, okay. This has nothing to do with that. This is, it's too bad that especially medical professionals kind of have that bias and that stigma too with something that's a medical condition. So now you're stable, you're doing well, you're planning on trying for children again. Actually, what is your profession now? Do you write for the New York Times?
Oh, I wish. No.
Oh, okay. LA Times.
No, I write for Substack now. I'm actually I work for a mental health nonprofit.
That's good. I know it doesn't pay as well as writing for the New York Times, but is it kind of satisfying and soul-filling?
It's definitely gratifying, I guess you can say. I do want to mention, I think I said earlier that people would look at me and be like, you don't look like you're bipolar. And I mentioned the word normal. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think normalcy exists. I do in the sense that we all have our definition of normal. But I think that in a world of like 7.7 billion humans, each person striving to be their own society's idea of normal, like, who are we kidding? I just think normalcy is really just the chase to meet the expectations set by a society with their own standards, and their own values. And I think it's important for people to know, especially younger people, to know that don't stack your idea of normalcy up against your identity, because especially if you have a mental illness, and I've done this, is, you're going to compare yourself to others, and you're going to see that, hey, that person, just got into, Stanford, or hey, that person just had a baby, or hey, that person just bought a 5-bedroom house. We do ourselves like no favors in comparing ourselves to other individuals, because we all do things in our own time. And you'll get there when you get there. And I've fallen so many times. I've had so many relapses, so many breakdowns, so many, wondering if I'm ever going to crawl out of that ditch again. And I've had. And I think one of the hardest things when you are in that ditch is figuring out, like, how the hell did I do it the last time? that monster is so big, and some part of you like thinks like or remembers like, okay, yes, I made it out, but a greater part of you is like, that doesn't matter because maybe this is the time that you're not going to. So I've been there time and time and time again, and it's scary, but it can be done. And we are our own worst enemy. Our mind is actually our own worst enemy. And I just want to tell people to not give up hope and just to keep striving. And even if you're having a mundane, boring ass day, just remember that there are better days ahead. And if you have dreams, don't give up on them. I'm going to be a geriatric mother, hopefully. So not giving up on that dream.
Hey, 40's the new 30.
There you go. So I guess that's what I would say to anyone listening.
It really is crippling at times, and it is a constant struggle. It's so frustrating. It is so debilitating at times.
Completely. I always describe it as that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why it's so frustrating. This is why I wish we could just have a blood test. And be like, this is exactly the treatment you need. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, some people think that our pills are little, like, magic beans that, we pop them into our mouths and then, we're cured for the day or whatever. But it takes a lot of work. Like, you can't get sloppy. Like, you have to be on your game all the time. And when I had my third breakdown, I remember leading up to it, before me and my husband were going to like the gym, like every day, like 5 days a week for like 2 years. And then I just stopped. And so that breaking that part of my routine contributed to my breakdown. And also I was also afraid at that time that because he was going to school at that time. So I thought once he graduated and like, oh, he's going to start a new life. He's not going to need me anymore. So that contributed to it. But I say that because it's like, we can't afford to get sloppy. Like, we have to stick to a routine, pay attention to our bodies, and create boundaries. Like, I'm terrible at doing that, but like, we have to just be really mindful, I guess, of what we're doing and even what we put inside our bodies. Like, eating like food can make us feel so awful. Tastes so good like going in, but like, yeah.
It sure does. I've talked to other people where sometimes having parents that were immigrated to North America, sometimes it's like there's a whole cultural thing behind mental illness. So
no, I have been told sometimes within like the Filipino culture, it can be very stigmatizing, mental illness. But my mom, I guess, is very Americanized. And actually, when I was having my first episode back in high school, all my aunties were like thinking I was just being like some rebellious like teenager, like just acting out. But it was actually my mom who was like, no, she was like, that's not my daughter. Like, there's something wrong with her. So props to her for being the one to like seek help and everything.
When's your book coming out?
It's funny. I've been writing this book since like 2016, but it's only because it's taken so long because I've rewritten it so many times. Like,
it took me 4 years to write a kid's book because I did the same thing.
Yeah. So like the book that it was like 10 years ago is like completely different from the book that it is now. Like, even like the character's name or like
it's
the format of the book. Yes. It's paint by numbers now. But I wrote a book. It's I'm actually querying it right now. So trying to get a literary agent or whatnot. So I know, scary times.
Is it loosely based on your life or something, or?
It is. Yeah. Definitely. So inspired by true events, I guess you can say. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Crystal. You really are just very lovely and so sweet and nice. Hey, if you liked this episode, if you've liked any of the episodes, please rate and review on Apple or whatever platform you're listening on. I sincerely cannot tell you how important those ratings and reviews are for podcasters. You can also go to my website, www.bunnyhugspodcast.com. There's all types of links and social media stuff and whatever on there. And if you're so inclined to throw me a coffee or a tip, you can go to buymeacoffee.com, look up Bunny Hugs Podcast, and that would be so very much extremely bigly appreciated. And finally, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. See you next week.